Welcome to Surrender School. So let's start with our mission statement. Good morning, everybody. I am Linda. I am a food addict. Our mission statement at Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We aren't an official 12-step meeting, but we do try and adhere to the spirit of the traditions because those things are freaking brilliant. All right, what's going on in Surrender School right now? We've got Supercharge Your Recovery, which is working the steps through the lens of your Enneagram type. It's really cool. Share has a bunch of office hours to help you with that experience, answer questions, just share and talk. Monday and Thursday, 8 a.m. and Monday at 4 p.m. We have the first Friday Enneagram exchange, which is what you're at right now. Michael Naylor, who is here today, is going to be going through, I believe it's the social instinct today. And he's also doing a book study with us on his book, The Alchemy of the Enneagram in Transforming Addiction, on monthly, I think it's typically like around the last Monday of the month, but those dates are on the website. We have several reading rooms going on right now. Drop the Rock on Wednesday, AA 12 and 12 on Tuesday, and Alan Berger's Emotional Sobriety on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We also have a couple of new things going on right now. We've got a 12 Steps in 12 Weeks by Amber, and that will start tomorrow. And I am really looking forward to that. I just started yesterday, 30 and 30, a 30-day intensive focus on abstinence. So it's a daily meeting. You don't have to commit to come every day, but you can if you want to. And then, like I said before, the first Friday Enneagram exchange is where you're at right now. We offer lots of different stuff. There's a ton of videos on the website, so check those out. I like to use those to support myself, like when doing housework or food prep or whatever. We've got a meditation for every step. We have multiple step studies recorded, and also one that is just written that you can go through alone with a sponsor or a small group. We are planning on an in-person retreat, not this summer, but next summer in Las Vegas. So I'm super excited about that. And of course, all of this can be found on the Surrender School website, surrenderschool.org. If you'd like to be a volunteer, and we can always use volunteers, please reach out to Lori B. You can just chat her, a personal message in the chat. If Surrender School has been helpful in your recovery, please donate. We are a nonprofit, so in America, your donations are tax deductible. But you can find that donate button on the bottom of our landing page of our website. And we have like website hosting costs, we have Zoom costs, we have insurance costs, and with the retreat, we will have more costs. You can join our WhatsApp group. It is very useful for finding out what's going on in Surrender School. They post notes about what's coming up, and then there's a lot of good conversation that happens and other people sharing in that WhatsApp group. Also, you might want to consider signing up for the daily Ennea Thought. I did that and I read it every morning. It's great, let me tell you. So I would highly recommend doing that. All right, let's get into this thing. Let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out. Feel your feet on the floor. And let's say together our set-aside prayer. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right, this is our guy. All right, Michael Naylor, he's going to take over and start talking about the instincts. But look at this. We are so happy to have a guy of this caliber come on and work with us. So take it away, Michael.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Linda. And hello, everyone. We're going to take a look at the social instinct today. And I'm going to go through all three zones of the social instinct and then open it up for some questions. So as I go along, write down what you want to ask. And as I finish with the zone 3, then I'll open it up and see if I can clarify any of the questions you have. So the social instinct. Generally, we talk about it as an instinct that is attuned to the operation of family, taking care of family, taking care of the kids. So it's, in a sense, it's taking care of the other and taking care of each other. So that shows up also in our relationship with community. The social instinct, if it's strong for us, there is a strong drive to contribute to the well-being of the operation of community and all of its affairs, or in some particular aspect. So it has something to do with connecting and sharing with others as a form of ultimately surviving and thriving in the world. If I can't connect with others and reciprocate with others, I'm going to have a tough go of it. And the social instinct lends itself towards me understanding and being able to make sense of my relationships with others. So we call it the Zen of belonging and connecting. So regardless of your type, if you have a strong social instinct, this desire to connect and belong and be a part of a group or a team or a movement is something that will be a strong priority if it's your dominant instinct. So we see different movements that have occurred over the past 5 years. Black Lives Matter. Any kind of athletic event really requires that social instinct to operate well within a team framework. Certain people have a strong social instinct, particularly Jimmy Carter, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and why can't I think of this funny lady? Oh, Ellen DeGeneres, and others, certainly Fred Rogers, powerful social instinct to want to contribute to the well-being of children and the planet. Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa. So these are people that have, again, AOC, strong social instinct, a fighter for the rights of other people, particularly for the oppressed. So we see this showing up in different activities. In a little social instinct cartoon, in life, it's not where you go, it's who you travel with. So your vibe attracts your tribe. So it has everything to do with finding my own particular tribe, a community of people that allow me to feel safe and protected and held, and that where I can have a sense of identity in. And so we'll see a lot of movements today, especially across the United States and internationally, people coming together under some very powerful social issues. So certain events in the world activate that social instinct, and certainly we're getting it activated big time. So the social instinct type, when they enter a room, there's a sense of looking for who's here, who's the important people, who's talking with whom, what are the interactions, what's the network of communication that's happening here in this room? Are there groups forming? There's a tendency, I notice these things as a dominant social instinct person, and how do I fit in? It's certainly one of the strongest drives of the social instinct is to make sure that I have a place where I fit in. If I have a really unattended to social instinct, this may be just the opposite for me. I don't want to have any kind of group connections. So do people like me? Have I upset anybody? Am I losing friends by anything I did? Who's in charge? What's the leadership structure here? What's the hierarchy? And the group dynamics, I hope they're interesting. So we've got 3 zones. Zone 1, reading and interpreting. Zone 2, bonding and affiliating. And Zone 3, contribution to others. So in each instinct, there's 3 zones. And if I have 2 out of 3 that are really strong, that tends to be my dominant instinct. When I say strong, I mean, I would rate it, an 8, 9, or 10 in terms of a relationship to 0 to 10 in 2 of the 3 zones. But usually, even if this is my blind spot, there'll be one of these zones that I have access to. So that said, reading and interpreting, zone 1. This has everything to do with my innate capacity to read people, to interpret and understand what their faces are saying, what their bodies are saying, what their intentions are. I have an intuitive capacity to put together a ton of impressions and come up with an intuitive sense of, this is what's going on with this person. So, this particular instinct is really powerful for anybody in the helping fields. So my capacity to interpret others accurately, which is a huge, huge, talent for being able to interact and form bonds and relationships with. When this is operating in a healthy way, this is something that comes natural to me. And if you've got a dominant social instinct friend in your life, you'll see them just naturally do all of these things. This is really the core of the instinct. Along with it is the ability to read what isn't said and to be able to interpret the communications that aren't being put out by a certain facial, physical tone of voice. It's like the missing information. When I have a strong social instinct, I pick these things up. I have a sense of, what's being said, what isn't being said, who's telling the truth, who isn't. And, a big one for the social instinct is that as I read the cues, there's that strong question of, do they like me and are we friends? Because the social instinct really is about forming bonds, safe bonds, friendly bonds that allow me to feel safe in the world. So you imagine if these particular capacities are working well, it's going to bolster my confidence on how to interact and join the human family. And if this isn't a strong instinct, there can be a sense of feeling like I'm a bull in a china shop and I don't read the cues well, and I say things at the wrong time and I offend people and I don't understand why. But when this is a strong, healthy, accessed instinct, I can trust myself with others. I can trust myself. So that with it, when it's operating well, I can find my tribe or my true allies. And this is a big one. The healthy social instinct, this capacity to read who is it that really is someone I can trust. And, noticing when I really feel that sense of intuitive no going on, meaning this, I don't feel the trust energy here. And, strong social instinct people listen to their instincts. They don't always decide that they're correct, but they listen, they hear when there's something going on with the social interaction that says, yes, this is a safe person. No, this isn't a safe person. And I attend to it. I notice it. Um, the other thing that goes along with it is this capacity to notice not only how I read people's impressions, but I notice how I read people when I communicate with them and whether my communications land, whether they get it, whether they get my words. And when I'm really attuned, I have this instinctive capacity to really feel into what other people are experiencing. And so it's not just the feeling types, the 2, 3, and 4, that have this capacity to feel what others are experiencing. But when you have this dominant social instinct, all the types, regardless of the type, this allows me to do a lot of deep interior reading of other people. So obviously, with this kind of capacity, I've got more room to be flexible, to change what I'm saying, to adapt to the responsiveness of people around me, um, to notice, oh gee, my communication isn't landing. I can just sense it. I can feel it in the air. Maybe I'll ask some questions. Maybe ask for clarification. Like, does anybody here understand what I'm talking about? Or are we going in the right direction? Or I might just experiment with trying speaking to a certain topic in a slightly different way. So I'm adaptive. Um, the other piece I would just say to it is this dominant instinct at its best in a person reflects a kind of open, receptive communication skill. There's a way it's like I'm just wide open to sensing, receiving, and taking in the impressions of others and holding my opinion lightly. And with the social instinct, there's a real natural propensity to really honor the differences in people. And ultimately, if you watched any of the Star Wars movies where they'll declare there's a disturbance in the Force, well, this is the social instinct, being able, in a sense, to read when something is amiss in the atmosphere of the people you're talking to. So the gift in all of this, and I notice this with my social instinct friends, is there's just a natural capacity to welcome people, to say, welcome, come on in, the ground's open, make yourself at ease, and being able to attune to when someone is feeling ill at ease, to be able to say something or to take an action or, say something that changes the current so they feel like they're welcome. So you could say that the welcome sign is right there at the front door with a dominant social instinct person. So parenting and adapting. So, if you have children, if you raise children, you know that one of the capacities that is essential is I have to be able to adapt to my children as they grow. And it really helps if I can read what the heck they're talking about. And when this is a weaker social instinct, my capacity to create this kind of fluid communication with my kids can struggle greatly. So just the question is, what is your relationship to the reading and interpreting instinct? Do you read and interpret others accurately? Are you able to sense what's going on with others and respond accordingly? What's been your experience? So that's just a general overarching question that you need to ask yourself. If you have a dominant or a strong social instinct, most of the things I just mentioned, you go, yeah, I have that. I notice that. That's a big part of how I interact with people. So then we have the next one, which is bonding and affiliating. And we've got the three musketeers here. And, one of their sayings was all for one and one for all. Well, that's really the social instinct. It's this capacity to create a team environment with a variety of different kinds of people. I know what it is. I know what the social glue is that brings us together under one umbrella and that inspires us to work as a team. So again, this is all intuitive capacity, intuitive sense. You can't really teach this to someone. They tend to either have it or they don't. I mean, there is a learning curve, of course, but when this is a dominant instinct, it's something that tends to happen naturally. So I can co-create with others, even if I don't personally like them. There's a sense of the mission that we've come together to serve is more important than my particular feelings about the personality. So what do we say in recovery, principles, not personalities? So this is the social instinct. And if you think about the 12 steps, it is a tried and true social instinct institution where all opinions are welcome and where there's a real desire capacity to try to invite and welcome everybody in, regardless of their level of sobriety or what their emotional suffering is. It's like everyone is welcome here. That's the social instinct. I just mentioned that, creating bonds that helps us move towards a mutual goal and know the art of keeping connected with others. And this is a really important one where I can sense when I'm starting to lose a kind of emotional connection that's important to me. And I sense it, I feel it in my body. And the social instinct person acts on it. They make a call, they ask a question, how are we doing? Are we still connecting well? If I don't have a strong social instinct like this, people can fade away and I don't even notice it. So it's the art of staying connected with others. And there's certain particular activities that social instinct people do, which is they send emails. They, most of the dominant social instinct people I know say that they have too many email contacts, that they're always trying to cut them down because their tendency is to always kind of grow their lists. So they send birthday cards, they remember anniversary dates, they remember important dates of friends. And we've mentioned a bit of this team spirit, develop reciprocity. If you've ever played on a great sports team, the teams I played on where we were really top level and winning championships, there was always this sense that there was a unified energy between us all, which is the social instinct. And our coach was certainly one of the people that inspired that, his capacity to value each person for the level of their contribution. And that's one of the talents in being a team leader is I have the ability to call out the value of everybody on my team and make them feel important. And that's one of the social instinct capacities. So I'm for you, beer for me, three musketeer spirit. And again, this again reminds me of sports activities with teams I've been on. The social instinct person has that ability to generate a palpable sense of connection and warmth towards others. And I remember one of my favorite coaches was this guy named Easy Ed. He was a type 9, my basketball coach. And there was just a sense that you just had that he just appreciated just being in the presence of the team and being a part of the team and inspiring the team and really creating an egalitarian unity between us all. Just a warmth of appreciation, human appreciation. So there's something around that I've noticed with social instinct people is this capacity to give you the sense that they're with you. I've got your back. If things get difficult, I'm not disappearing because I'm a part of your team. And gracefully responding to others' needs for the betterment of our mission together. There's something about noticing the Achilles heel of team members and really make an attempt to not step on it or confront it or to call it out, but to find a way to, in a sense, make people feel safe around the areas where they don't feel safe. And again, this is a social instinct. If I can read where a person gets easily humiliated or embarrassed, then I have half a chance of speaking to them in a way that doesn't press that button. So again, there's that skillfulness in reading the people and in communicating with them. And talked about this, creates a big welcome sign for people. And what happens when you go to a really good AA meeting? There's 3 or 4 greeters, all welcome you. Come on in, welcome, glad you made it. Someone relapses, glad you made it back. You're always welcome here, regardless of what your length of sobriety is. So approachable and warm-hearted towards other, which to me is the very heart of recovery. The other thing that I think is true, again, with the social instinct, is there's this sense that I really value my own presence in a group. And I feel like I belong with others, that I'm meant to be a part of a team. I don't feel excluded from. There's a way of coming together and feeling a togetherness that feels really innate to me. So I belong here and so do you. And often the dominant instinct folks feel an easy affection for others. We're comrades in arms, we're teammates, we're fighting this fight together. And there's something about that glue of togetherness that really is the heart and soul of the kind of emotional atmosphere that the dominant social instinct person generates. So social bond, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Love to create connections. Sometimes dominant social instincts folks are so adept at creating connections. They're the ones who end up joining too many groups too quickly or having too many sponsors, picking up, I don't just have one sponsor. I have 5 programs and 5 sponsors. I don't know how I'm going to make this work. Well, there's this kind of this sense of I network and create a larger network of support for myself when it may be stretching myself too far, too thin. And that's sometimes what social instinct folks do, is they have a tendency to stretch themselves into too many too many commitments, too many groups. And when it's my dominant instinct, I have to be mindful of this particular pattern. But ultimately, one of the things that, you know, dominant social instinct people's love is just getting to know people. Tell me your story. There's a kind of curiosity around. I want to learn where you came from, what you're all about. And again, this invites people out and to show themselves and gives them that sense that they're welcome. There's a welcome mat here for me. So I'm good at sensing who my allies are and who will honor their responsibilities on the team. And, dominant social instinct folks tend to be very likable. There's just a way that they engender themselves to others and people feel received, wanted, cared for, and they do it in such a likable way that they're an attractive force. And this natural liking of others, of course, welcomes them. And the capacity to sort of take joy and pleasure in a variety of different peoples. Again, this is a social instinct. It's a capacity that I was born with. So what's your relationship with the bonding and affiliating instinctual capacity? Do you create bonds and team with others easily and gracefully? Can you read who your allies or friends are? Do you inspire teamwork? Is that something that's one of your gifts, your sort of Jedi gifts? Do you avoid it, not know how to do it, or feel like it's not important? And when it comes to creating bonds and friends, do you notice that you feel inadequate or there's a shame about it? Again, it's just trying to get a sense of what is your relationship with this zone of the social instinct. Okay, so let's go on to the third zone. And there's certainly a saying in recovery and in spiritual transformation groups, the people we surround ourselves with will either raise or lower our standards. They either help us to become the best version of ourselves or encourage us to become lesser versions of ourselves. We become like our friends, which means we are affected by the atmosphere of the people we hang with. No man or woman becomes great on their own. No woman becomes great on her own. The people around them help to make them great. And this is really the social instinct folks know this, that by myself, my my capacity is limited. But as I work in a team, it's like my capacity to expand and become more of who I am grows. We all need people in our lives who raise our standards, reassure us of our essential purpose, and challenge us to become the best version of ourselves. So it's that whole saying that we have in the Gurdjieff work, and that Gurdjieff said, is that doing spiritual work alone isn't difficult. It's actually impossible. And that's what we say in a 12-step program. This is not an I program. It's a we program. We do it as a community. That's how we stay clean and sober. So contributing to others, zone 3, coming up here. And altruism is probably the strongest, most positive quality of zone 3, this wish to help others, to be of service to others. And when this zone is alive, it's just something that's a part of my life that I must do. Otherwise, I don't feel good in my own body and my own skin. So it's the instinctive desire to serve the greater good, to bring a higher quality of goodness to others I engage with. And there's something also around, those who have a strong social instinct, usually at a very early age, have a real knowing that they're here to contribute to others. So as a result of this drive, this instinctual drive, there's often an awareness of my unique gifts, which really translates into knowing my calling. And people with dominant social instincts are, if they're not feeling a clear sense of their calling, really struggle with it. They feel out of sorts. It's like this real deep need to know, what am I here for? What am I, what's the purpose of my life? So it's the capacity to step into life, to play an active role, to connect and serve, to engage others and other situations and issues, and not to, this is not for, and introverts, if they've got a social instinct, doesn't mean that they're not out there working with and serving groups. It just means that they do it in a less extroverted way. So social instinct doesn't define extroversion or introversion. But it ultimately comes down to a deeper sense of what our particular real need is to contribute. My real need to feel a deep affinity with others, a sense of belonging with others, a sense of being on a team with others. And to the extent that I have a dominant social instinct with this, when this isn't happening, it sends me into a great deal of concern and fear, and a sense of, my whole survival starts feeling like it's threatened until I get on course with my need to contribute and connect with others. So instinctively understand there are things that are more important than me. And that's the survival skill. It's this sense of, I was thinking of when we went through the pandemic, version 1, when all of a sudden there was a shortage of toilet paper. And the social instinct folks were the ones noticing when people were filling up their whole shopping cart with toilet paper, saying, there's other people that need this too. We need to be able to share this. They were the ones in grocery stores, who made sure that the way the toilet paper was laid out, that one person just couldn't come in and sweep out the whole thing. Like they started limiting only 5 rolls of toilet paper at a time. But there's something around this instinct which just says sharing makes my life safer and stronger and is more intelligent than just going solo. So along with it is a kind of recovery principle, which is that principle that says that part of my obligation is to give away what I've been given, being generous with my knowing. So if you think about, recovery, anyone who's serious about recovery and has had some sobriety, it does feel a responsibility to give away what they've been given in some form or another, to give back. And certain spiritual traditions are the same way. Christianity, Gurdjieff work, Buddhism, there's a sense that whatever I've been given, it's my responsibility to share it and pass it on, whatever wisdom I have, etc. So being generous with my knowing, core steps of the recovery and the Gurdjieff work. Along with it is this understanding that you get to keep what you give away. Once you start holding on to wisdom and not sharing it, or whatever it is that you've been given, and start, in a sense, not sharing it, there's a concept that says, if you don't share your recovery wisdom, you're one who's likely to relapse down the road. There's a real spiritual magic that comes with giving away what one is given, and certainly for myself, giving away what I've been given always feels good. There's just a sense of fulfillment in doing it. I'm just grateful I was given so much. So there's also an instinctual intelligence to know where to put my energy to help others. Again, there's a sense of, it could even be like, you're at a workshop and you're leading it, and you just have a sense that somewhere on the left side of the room, there's someone who's needing support. And if you wait for a minute and you just sort of watch the manifestations of people, you begin to notice, oh, there's someone who's suffering, who's frustrated, or who's feeling lost. But with this instinct, I have a tendency to be able to feel this. I don't necessarily have to know the content of it. So the social instinct is the full flowering. In its full flowering is survival, not only of the body, but survival of everything good in humanity. It's bringing into fruition the flowering of the very best in humanity and being a force of good for that. So what's your relationship to the instinctual need to contribute to others? How do you contribute to others in a meaningful way? How do you avoid or disconnect from this need? Do you care about it? Is something that grabs your attention? And if you don't care about it, it's not to judge yourself, it's just to notice, oh, my social instinct's a little bit asleep. Do you feel you're unimportant and not needed? I mean, there can be different reasons why you don't reach out and try to help. But there is something to be said about when this social instinct is weak. How inspired are you to help others? When the instinct is weak, what can show up is a sense of feeling like I don't feel like I'm easily likable, or what I have to give isn't that important. So why would I give when someone else could do it better? There can be a variety of reasons why this particular instinct can be suppressed. So that's 3 zones pretty quickly. Let's see if we have any questions popping up. Maybe Linda, will you
Yeah,
choose?
I'll field the comers of questions. Okay, Deborah.
No, if so, it's very frustrating because that's my story. Like I just don't have the personality, to connect, and I get very, very frustrated by that. Any suggestions? I know you're going to do more on this, but
Well, let me ask you a question. So it sounds like you have a strong desire to help and contribute. but somehow your introversion makes it difficult for you to step through your fear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or something else, fear
Mhm. Okay.
or
And
low self.
so what do you do? What are the ways that you do service for others? Because it could be quiet. It could be, somebody who's greeting people at an AA meeting or, a 12-step meeting is playing a social instinct role. They're welcoming people in. So it doesn't have to be an extroverted, dramatic thing. But if you notice that you don't engage any of your desires to help because of your fear, then that may be more of an indication, of some woundedness there. It may or may not be your dominant instinct, but you'll find out if you start working on it. And when the next time we all meet here, we're going to talk about suggestions for that. But do you have anything in particular that you do that provides help for others? Do you sponsor folks? Do you have, kids that you take care of and, help them with their life? I mean, what, anything?
My job is an elementary music teacher, so I'm helping kids all day, every day. But so is it mostly helping is what the social instinct is?
Yeah, yeah, helping but it's a combination of things. It's helping people feel comfortable in their own skin, creating an atmosphere where people feel like it's safe for me to come forward. So, a teacher role, if you've got a strong social instinct, then you can read the kids, you can make them feel welcome, and you can do it in an introverted way that could be very gentle and quiet, but also very powerful. So
Yeah.
it shows up that way. So thank you for that question.
Jeff?
Hi. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Okay, what a fun shirt. That's number one. I love it. It suits you. So look, this is where I'm confused because like as I as I get to know my true self more, it's like my false self and my woundedness kind of distorted this what I
Mhm.
think is inside of me. I think this may be a dominant instinct, but I'm confused a little bit. So maybe you can give me some clarity. So basically, I have this strong desire to want to help, like zone 3, and contribute to the world and make a difference, so to speak, like leave a
Mhm.
footprint. I
Yeah.
have like this strong urge to help, but then it got distorted with codependency. It got distorted with my character defects. So I'm wondering, am I just wanting to attach to this like really badly as an identity? You know what I mean? Or is it
Mhm.
really a gift that I have? Because it's like, for example, in the park, which is becoming my favorite place, I had an urge to like find someone to like talk them up, like to just uplift them and to pour into them spiritually. Like I just glanced over and I saw the man cutting grass, and I wanted to tell him how much I appreciate his contribution to the park that I get to enjoy and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going on inside of me. I don't know, but I'm curious to know if it's something that can be honed in like a healthy way to use it as a gift
Mhm.
without being dysfunctional, basically.
Absolutely. And that's certainly, let's just say that your dominant instinct, let's say you have a dominant instinct. One of the challenges is to notice that under stress, I can become codependent and lose my sense of my own boundary and give too much to others or become more too interested in their needs and not my own. And that can be a part of woundedness growing up as a little one and family interactions. But ultimately, the healthy social instinct person has to develop a clear sense of noticing, when am I going into codependency? When am I doing the work of others that they need to do for themselves? And when am I contributing strength and opportunity to people as opposed to needing to create a link with them so I feel safe? So there's some discerning that needs to go on there, but ultimately there's something around innate wish to be a team player, to work with others, to help them do their best as a team. There's a capacity to read others and have a sense of what's going on with them. And a wish, for altruism, all three zones. And always the question is under stress, if I'm what we say about any dominant instinct, under stress, I tend to overdo that instinct. So the social instinct would be I'd be overdoing, over caring for, not paying attention to my own needs. And that would be a growth edge for the social instinct.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jasmine. Dave and/or Kim.
Hi, I had a question about we in Surrender School, we've been doing a 12 and 12 step study, and we were reading step 4 recently, and I noticed that Bill Wilson talks about the 3 instincts in that section on step 4, and I've read that many times over the years, and all of a sudden, just recently learning about the Enneagram, I thought this can't be a coincidence. So I was wondering if, I'm sure you do know where he learned about that, because he was writing about that in the 1950s in the 12 and 12.
Well, personally, I think it was downloaded through his higher power, but also he had some kind of innate wisdom, and he learned it from his own distorted instincts. I know if you study his life, his secretary, a guy named Francis Vaughan, wrote a biography on him, and Bill Wilson's social and sexual instinct were both out of whack, so to speak. And on the one hand, what was powerful about his social instinct is he brought together people under the umbrella of AA, so that they really worked as a team. I mean, it's just miraculous that it exists, and it's extraordinary. But at the same time, there was a whole team of men that kept him away from newcomers, because he kept, trying to form these relationships. He had a bit of a relationship addiction. But at the same time, the sexual instinct has something to do with charisma and challenging the known and going into deep change. And, the whole program of recovery is around change and transformation and dealing with your shadow side. So he had both healthy manifestations of those instincts and unhealthy. And, through the course of his life, there's much evolution. If you ever get a chance to see the movie Bill W., it really captures some of the amazing stuff he did. And I guess there's another one coming out very soon, part 2 on Bill W. But yeah, I think he got it straight from his own experience, and and also he was quite intuitive. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, Becca and/or Richard.
Hi, I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
My question is, Michael, you've mentioned many times, we've seen some of the videos. We weren't able to attend everything live. You've mentioned your teacher, your mentor, but I never heard the person's name. So do you mind revealing that? Who your mentor is or
Yes,
was?
well, one of many, but the one who's been primary in the last years is a man named Stephen Aronson. And if you go to my main Enneagram interviews, I did an interview with him, and he's a type 9 and talks a bit about his 9-ness, and then talks about his own spiritual journey and what he learned along the way. But it's Steve Aronson, and yeah, and he's really been my Gurdjieff mentor. And the Gurdjieff work is very much aligned with the 12 steps. I think that the 12, in my opinion, the 12 steps came out of the work of the Gurdjieff work, but there was never a need to link the two.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then my comment is looking at introvert extrovert, and certainly within the social instinct, I agree that if there's a meeting and you're the greeter, that would be a very extrovert thing to do. But being an introvert, I prefer working behind the scenes, so making the contributions. So I might be the one who would help set up or clean up or something like that. And that feeling of teamwork is really important, but it's not necessary for me to put myself out there as much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Richard. All right, Vera.
Thank you so much. This has been very, I mean, I take notes and then I reread it because somewhere along the line, I think I didn't get the right, instructions. But I'm in awe of all of this, and I was just thinking that when I've this cross between recovery and the 12 steps, well, the fellowship more so than the 12 steps,
Mhm.
and the Enneagram, and how as time progresses, everything that we do around recovery and around meetings, for instance, kind of balances these instincts, right?
They can.
In
for
the
sure.
sense that the social instinct gets developed by the amount of service you do and by kind of course correcting stuff that probably we never really,
Mhm.
tried before.
Mhm.
And so I'm very much looking for the next session with instructions on how to put this a bit more balanced. But in the meantime, would you say that actually just the fact that you are in recovery, all these instincts kind of start leveling, becoming more and more balanced?
Well, that's
And
the
that's the
hope.
first question, yeah.
Yeah, that's the hope. So one of the things I notice sometimes is if a low self social instinct person comes into recovery, they're immediately confronted with a big group of people and having to get comfortable with large groups of people and encouraged to talk and speak out loud. And for some of those people, it sends them out the door. They can't bear it. It's just it's pressing up against their Achilles heel. They feel inadequate because the social dominant instinct people are the ones who just can't get them to shut up, right? There they are, and they're just blabbing on, and they're telling you their story for the 9,000th time, and so they represent the other polarity. And the hope is, and I see this over time, is that people who hang around and do the inner work start to get more of a balance in their relationship with the instincts. But the one that tends to be the most difficult one, the blind spot, is one that just takes some extra work because it just doesn't feel that good to even work on it. So I will talk more about that when in our next one. But so what's your relationship with the social instinct?
I would say it's my second instinct. Mind you, I think that I grew up a lot of self-preservation types, so neutral faces are really hard for me to read.
Yeah. Okay.
They always mystified me why they don't show any emotion. And I think my family was like that,
Oh,
very
well.
stoic, very
Mhm.
stoic, very, very, amazing people in a way, but really, I just couldn't read them. I just couldn't read them.
Well, they must have been good card players.
Very good card players.
So with the social instinct, as it gets developed in people, what they start to read intuitively is the emotional atmosphere coming off a person. So if you think of, and this sounds a little woo-woo, but just experiment with it. But each person has a kind of energy field around them, 3-foot energy field. And some people, you may notice that you can read it right away. You feel their energy. There's a sense of resonance and there's a sense of feeling familiar. And there's others that you might feel an aversion that, you get close to them and something is off-putting and you don't know why. But as that social instinct gets developed, I think the capacity to read that atmosphere, which goes a little bit beyond how they look, their card player poker face is still putting off an energy. And so people become more able to read that kind of energy. So,
And I guess that
yeah.
entails you not being self-centered or self-conscious, because otherwise you don't read anyone but your own energy, right?
Yeah, well, it's just to notice, they probably swing back and forth. So yeah, so there's hope. Thank you.
Thanks, Vera. Okay, Becca and or Richard.
Yeah, to me this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the most clear presentation of the social instinct I've ever heard. And it's really confirming. For the longest time, I was really wondering if I was dominant SP. But this is totally confirming. What I want to ask about is, even though it's my primary instinct, it's the one I struggle with the most. And what was just coming up for me as I was listening and kind of processing this is I'm an ACA. And so relationship is where I was wounded, and relationship is what's so important to me. And so I really struggle with bringing all these things into fruition. So I just, do you have anything to say about that, or?
Well, if our dominant instinct's been wounded, then it's going to be, you know, a place that draws our attention all the time. Because if you think about, one way I think about it is that the instincts are survival drives. And if my dominant instinct is social, then it can feel like my survival is dependent on my connections with people, and whether I'm liked, and whether, you know, whether there's a harmony, whether we can work together, and there could be a strong both wish and need to have harmony. And at the same time, whatever my woundedness is, it may inhibit me from actually utilizing that capacity until I've done the healing I need to do. So, you know, the dominant instinct, it's the one that we tend to go to under stress, when we're feeling hurt or ashamed, or so whatever the themes are, depending on my health. You know, if people are mad at me and my social instinct is wounded, then I'm going to be super, super affected by them not liking me, and really worried all the time that, you know, do people still like me? Am I likable? And in real effort to try to prove my likability. Down the levels, let's just say that was my blind spot. Usually when it's a blind spot, there's kind of an indifference to people. Like, you know, I can take people or leave them. I mean, I don't, you know, just give me a home out on an island, and I'll be fine. And if the human beings, you know, enter it, well, then they're a pain in the neck, and I wish they'd go away. So it can be that. Underneath it can be a sense that I'm not likable anyway. I don't like me, and I don't like you. So there we are. I'll just go, you know, do what I like to do in terms of my other instincts. So it's a different relationship when it's down and when it's a blind spot. So, and you know, and the other thing I just encourage you, if maybe you've already done it, is on my website, there's an article I wrote that describes all three of these, and really captures really all the slides too. If you go there to Enneagram Maine, that can be useful just as a reference. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Becca. Melissa.
Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for this.
Absolutely.
It's been so validating to hear.
Awesome.
And I just wanted to say that when you were describing the characteristics of a social, I thought I could absolutely see myself since I was a little girl being this way, being the one in fourth grade, getting people together to put on a play. Nobody else wanted to, but I could see it, and I think you'd be good at that. And I know you.
Yeah.
And so I had that sixth sense. And even in high school, when I went to my reunions, people would say, "You noticed me. I was the wallflower, and you made sure I came out to dance," or you know, so I had that.
Yeah.
But what I'm struggling with, it's like there's two people, Melissa who's not depressed and Melissa who's depressed.
Yes.
When I'm depressed, I feel like hiding
Yes.
because I don't
Absolutely.
feel like myself, and I
Yep.
feel embarrassed to be around
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely.
And so it's even more painful for a social
Yep.
who's depressed, because
Yeah.
you know you need people, but you don't want to be around people because you feel like
Yeah.
a burden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's certainly been my experience of depression. If I'm in a
Mm.
place of depression, you know, usually I feel a sense of great shame around being
Yes.
around people, and great, I feel like the imposter syndrome is pretty darn loud in my own, can't remember anything that I've ever done that's well.
Totally.
And just not that sense of not feeling well just makes me feel like I'm not wanted, or that no one would even want to, you know, even sort of look at me and say, hello, how are you doing? And when I'm in a healthier place, there's a buoyancy and a
Yes.
love of connection and communion with people. But there's that depression stuff, does break us up into two different people, and it's real stuff and not easy to navigate.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate you so much.
well, back at you, and I have a quick question about what you put in the chat. Was that the link to Bill Wilson's
The new movie, and you can
Oh,
stream it. It's the new
oh,
movie. It's Bill Wilson, something like .com. So there you go.
let me see if I can find that. That's so the movie's out.
Yep. And you can stream it as of May 2nd, I think.
So is it Bill Wilson ConsciousContact.com?
Correct.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you for that.
I'm so glad I was here to put that in the chat. And thank you. I'm
Yeah,
so glad
yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Thank
good to be
you.
with you. Good to
Lots
see
of
you.
love. Okay.
You too.
Thanks, Melissa. Michael, we have one question in the chat, and let me read it for you. As a 4, if you think you have a dominant social instinct, but also experiencing typical 4 shame, how do you deal with that?
Well, the question I would have is, how do they deal with that? Because everybody will have a different strategy. If I have a lot of shame, you want to figure if that's my dominant instinct, there's a push-pull. One of the pushes is to be out doing contributing to others, empowering them. And then there's almost like the opposite pole inside of me, which wants to hide and disappear and not be seen. And depending on my level of health, if I have, childhood issues where I was embarrassed or not cared for or wasn't raised in a nice, loving, holding environment, which most of us weren't, then as a type 4, I'm going to be really sensitive to rejection. So on the one hand, I'm going to have a real natural desire to be altruistic. On the other hand, I'm going to be super sensitive to rejection. It's like I'll be too touchy. And so that just means I've got inner work I've got to do to heal that wound so that capacity of the social instinct comes forward more easily.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. We out of questions?
I think we might be. I don't see any more in the chat.
Okay. Well, good. Well, we covered an hour, it looks like, and just good to be with everybody, and appreciate your help and support, and love all the questions, and we'll see you in a month or so, and we'll talk about solutions.
Thank you so much, Michael. Loved it.
All right. Many blessings.
Thanks for recovering with us.